Let me start off with a hospital story. There was the emergency ward of a hospital, and two patients were admitted in it. Both of them were bedridden. There was only one window in that ward. The patient whose bed was by the side of the window would be made to sit up for an hour every day so that the fluid from his lungs got drained out. During that 1 hour, he would peep out of the window, and what he saw, he would describe to his friend. It seemed there was a garden on the outside. It had an exquisite fountain right in the center, and lush green grass with beds of flowers all around, and benches for old couples and old ladies to sit and bask in the sun during the day. The water around the fountain used to attract all kinds of birds, and there would be rows of ducks waddling, and geese would come there occasionally. Sometimes children would be there with their tricycles to play, and sometimes young lovers, etc. There were, of course, lots of butterflies flitting on the flowers. When this first patient described the scene to his friend, the friend's world lit up. He would be so excited because it was in sharp contrast to the dreary hospital environment with the tubes and the smell of phenol and the medicines, etc., etc. He would begin to wait for the 1 hour when his friend would sit up and describe the scene outside. By now, they had become good friends because they had been spending a couple of weeks there. Because there was nothing else to do, they had discussed their friends and their relatives and everything else. However, one day, an evil thought entered the second patient's mind. He thought, why does my friend get to have all the fun? Why has God been so kind to him and not to me? He is able to see the wonderful scenery outside, and I am missing out on it all. He allowed this negative thought to fester within him. You know, when a wound festers, it becomes worse and worse and worse. I don't need to explain that to doctors. That's what happened to his internal wound until he began hating this patient. One night, the first patient started coughing. It was a different kind of cough, as if he was gasping. Now, the right thing at that moment would have been to press the emergency bell and call the nurse or the attendants. However, he was either too weak to do it or did not have the presence of mind. He kept coughing. The next best thing would have been for his friend to press his emergency bell. But the friend was so full of hatred. He thought, this guy is suffering? Good. He deserves it. Why does he enjoy so much? Let him suffer. The first patient continued to cough for a little while, and then all was silent. In the morning, the nurses came and discovered the dead body. Without much of a fuss or ado, they moved the body out, not knowing what had transpired there last night. The second patient allowed 2 or 3 days to go by. And then, in order not to invite any suspicion, he allowed a few days to go by. And then he made a request. Can my bed be shifted by the side of the window? They said, fair enough. He made another request. I am now well enough. Can I be made to sit up for a little while? They said, sure, that is possible. When he sat up, after so many days, he got to see out of the window of the hospital ward. But he was shocked at the sight before him. All he could see was the wall of a warehouse. He asked the nurses, what is this? They said, our hospital is neighbored by a warehouse. Since the gap is very little when you peep out of the window, the only thing you see is the warehouse wall. So he said, what is it that my friend used to see in that case? They responded, that was the beauty of his own mind. In other words, as the saying goes in English, two men looked out from the prison bars. One saw the mud, the other saw the stars. This world is as it is for all of us. How you wish to see it will determine your level of happiness. Living in this world, the God-realized saints chose to see God. And hence the gopis said, Vatan me, ghatan me, vithin me, bagan me, belin me, vatika me, phulan me, van me, daran me, diwarin me, dehari darichan me, hiran me, haran me, bhushan me, tan me, कानन में कुंजन में गोपिन में गायन में गोकुल में गोधन में दामिनी में घन में जहाँ जहाँ देखूं तहाँ शाम ही दिखाई देत मेरो शाम छाए रहियो नैनन में मन में. The gopis are saying, wherever we look, we see the divine form of our Lord Krishna. Living in this world, the saints saw God. Ishavasamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyan jagat. The Isha Upanishad says, everywhere is the form of God. Lord Shiv told Mother Parvati, Uma je Ram charan rata vigat kam mad krodha nij prabhu maya dekhi jagat kehi san karahi virod. He says, O Parvati, that fortunate soul who has removed desire, anger, greed from within, sees this world as the veritable form of God. What does that mean? It means there are two realities in existence. One is the objective reality. The other is the subjective reality. The objective reality is the world made of earth, water, fire, air, and sky. That is the same for us all. The subjective reality is how we are looking at it. So if we are unhappy, the defect is not in the world. The defect is in our perspective. And if we wish to become happy, all we need to do is to change our thoughts. It is so simple. We are always struggling with the outside. Unless this person changes, I cannot be happy. Unless my boss's behavior becomes different, I cannot be happy. Unless this patient responds in this manner, I cannot be happy. We are assuming that the key to our happiness is on the outside. And the moment that is our assumption, then people and circumstances can switch us on and switch us off. But if we take away the key which we have given to others and keep it with ourselves, we can always choose our happiness. So remember the principle, the subjective reality and the objective reality. There was a grandfather living in Hyderabad. Now over the years it has become Cyberabad, and people have gone to various countries around the world for jobs. When I travel around USA, I keep coming across Silicon Andhra and so many. It seems that half the NRIs in America are from Andhra and Telangana. So this grandfather, his children were also all around the world. Now, when grandmother passed away, he said what to do. Should I spend 3 months with each of my children through the year? Rather than trouble them, let me stay in an old age home. So he found a good old age home in Hyderabad and went to speak to the manager that I'd like to purchase an apartment here. The manager finalized the contract, selected the room for him, and then he said to the nurse, "Show grandfather his new room." The nurse accompanied grandfather, guided him to his apartment, and she was cheering him up on the way. "Dadaji, this room of which we have got for you, it has got a brick fireplace that looks so nice." Grandfather said, "I love it." The nurse said, "Dadaji, we have also got a Persian carpet there, and the design is so exquisite." He said, "Fantastic." The nurse said, "Dadaji, there's a Chinese vase with flowers in it." He said, "I just love it." The nurse said, "Dadaji, you have not even seen that apartment as yet. How can you say that you love it?" He said, "Look, my child, whether I love it or not does not depend upon the apartment. It depends upon me." Think about it very carefully. He is saying whether I love it or I don't love it does not depend upon the apartment. It depends upon me. So similarly in this world, you choose to be happy or you choose to be unhappy does not depend upon the situations. It just depends upon the choices that you make. And when we are unhappy, we are the ones who are choosing to be unhappy. I was once traveling with a husband and wife on a flight back from America. So, since they were Indians, I got into a conversation with them. And I asked the gentleman, "What do you do?" So he said, "Swamiji, I'm in this business." And I said, "What does your wife do?" He said, "Swamiji, she is in the manufacturing business." I said, "Really? That is very amazing for a lady to be in the manufacturing business. What does she manufacture?" He said, "She manufactures unhappiness. She creates unhappy thoughts all the while." But don't we all do it? Don't we all unnecessarily become unhappy? Kaka Hatrasi was a famous Hindi poet. Once I found Kaka Hatrasi crying. I asked Kaka, what is the reason you are so unhappy? He said, Swamiji, my Chachaji passed away and he left a fortune of 20 lakh rupees for me. I said, Kaka, what is the reason to be unhappy? He said, Swamiji, my second Chacha also passed away. He left a fortune of 40 lakh rupees for me. I said, Kaka, all the more you should be happy. Swamiji, my third Chacha also passed away. He left 80 lakh rupees for me. I said, Kaka, you should be jumping in the air. Why are you so unhappy? He said, Swamiji, I don't have any more Chachas who will die and leave any fortunes for me. Now, this is the ideal case of manufacturing unhappiness. So remember, when you have unhappy thoughts, that is not a necessity. It is always a choice that you make. Sometimes people ask me, Swamiji, are you unhappy anytime? I go back, scan the last 5 years and I say, I don't remember in the last 5 years if I had an unhappy thought. Why? I choose not to have unhappy thoughts. It is a choice that you are making. And if you are making wrong choices, the world will always serve sour lemons to you as well. If this hospital has become a success in 10, 11 years, you ask Dr. Bhaskar Rao, I don't need to ask him. In this journey, he must have had so many difficult situations to encounter. The world will always serve you with sour lemons. That is how it is. But whether you become bitter over it or you choose to make a lemonade out of it is always a choice that you make. I like to teach through stories because they convey the point very well. Once, one of my devotee satsangis came to me and he said, Swamiji, I'm so unhappy. So what is the matter? Why are you so unhappy? You know what? My mother-in-law has come to stay with me. My wife, I love her very much. But my mother-in-law, never. You are a Swami. Can you please teach me how to be happy? How to remove this sadness? I asked him, do you have any dogs at home? He said, no. I said, that is the problem. Get a few dogs. He was an obedient disciple. He went to the pet shop and purchased 3 little puppies and brought them home. He came to meet me again after 4 days. I said, how are you feeling now? He said, Swamiji, the puppies run all over the place and they create havoc at home. And then my mother-in-law is also there. I'm unhappier than before. I said, do you have any cats at home? He said, no. I said, that is the whole problem. You need to have some cats. Again, he obeyed my guidance. He went and purchased a few kittens along with the cat and brought them. But he came running to me in 2 days. I said, what is the situation now? He said, Swamiji, the dogs are chasing the cats and the cats are dropping the crockery. Hell is getting created at home. I'm even more miserable. I said, do you have any parrots? He said, no. I said, look, you need to have parrots. How can you be happy without parrots? So again, he said, Swamiji must be giving me the secret to happiness, which is parrots. He went and got 4 parrots. But this time he came running to me the very next day. I said, what is your situation? He said, Swamiji, those cats are running after the parrots and the parrots are flying onto the fans and I am going crazy. I said, all right, in that case, now do one thing. You release the parrots and take the kittens and leave them in somewhere far away, and you sell off your dogs. He did all of that and he came back to me in 3 days. I said, are you happy now? He said, I'm very happy. I said, look, earlier in the same situation with your mother-in-law at home, you were not happy. And right now, it's the same situation as before, but you are happy. What is the message to learn? That situations are as they are. The choice you need to make is, do you decide to be happy or unhappy? There are positive thinkers and there are negative thinkers. The negative thinkers are always crying about the cup of their life which is half empty. And the positive thinkers are happy about the cup which is half full. All of us have some things we have received and some things we have not received. What do you wish to focus on? Then let's move now on to analyze, why do we choose negative thoughts? Why this propensity for nakaratmak vichardhara? What causes it? The cause of it is the ego within. The ego tells us that this whole world should fulfill my desires, which are the most important. The ego informs us that I am the center of the universe. And if my desires are not getting fulfilled, there is something wrong with this world. This unforgiving ego is the cause of our miseries. Now, is the world created for our sake? Or are we created for the sake of the world? Obviously, the world is not created for our sake. One man, a geologist, wanted to survey the holy Ganga. He took a map and started off from Ganga Sagar, determined that he would follow it all the way to Gangotri. So he would check with his map. The map says the Ganga should go to the left. Yes, it's going there. The map says it should go to the right. Yes, it's going there. Yes, the Ganga is following my map. However, one place, according to his map, the Ganga should have gone left. And the Ganga was going right. He got annoyed. What is this? The Ganga is not following my map. If the Ganga doesn't follow my map, there is no point in this survey. He threw his map and left in disgust. Now tell me, is the Ganga supposed to follow his map? Or is the map supposed to follow Ganga? Similarly, the world is not there to fulfill our desires. If our wishes are not fulfilled, never mind. Drop those desires. We are there to fulfill the wishes of the universe. When we do that, we will find minimum 1 million reasons to be happy. Now you say, Swamiji, how can you find 1 million reasons to be happy? I will tell you. There was a man who developed a severe itch in his eyes. So he came running to the KIMS hospital, ophthalmology section, and he showed it to the doctor. The doctor did the tests and then he diagnosed and said that you have a cancerous growth. I will need to take out your eyes or it will spread into the body. So this patient was shocked. My eyes will be taken out. The doctor said, or you will die. The choice was whether to keep living but blind or not to live at all. He said, all right, I'm willing. The date of the surgery was decided. He came to the hospital, entered the operation theater with this knowledge: when I come out, I will be blind. However, when the doctor went in and opened his eyes, he discovered there was no cancerous growth. It was only a very rare kind of fungus on the retina. So the doctor then cleaned it up, stitched the eyes, and later on, when the bandages were opened, the patient realized, I can see. He thanked God. Oh Lord, you are so kind for the eyes that I have. The eyes he had earlier as well, but he was not realizing them as a blessing. And now he says, thank you, God, for the eyes I have. So tell me, is anybody blind here? We are not. We have got these eyes, each fitted with 5 million sensors, with the help of which you can make out the difference between SD TV and HD TV and UHD TV, with the help of which you can enjoy the beauty of the setting sun in the evening on the seaside, with the help of which you can see the majestic glory of an eagle in flight, or the dewdrops on a lotus leaf. Are these eyes not a blessing of God? Count that as a reason to be happy. Is any of us here deaf? If you were, you would not be sitting listening to my lecture. God has fitted our ears with 24,000 tubes, with the help of which we can hear sound frequencies between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz, with the help of which we can relish the mirth of children in laughter, the rustling of the leaves with the wind, the falling of the waves on the rocks by the seaside. Count it as another blessing, as another reason to be happy. You just need to ponder for a moment, and you will realize that God has blessed us all in millions of ways. Now you may be unhappy, I got overlooked for the promotion and my colleague got promoted. I'm so unhappy. But let me tell you, there are crores of people in this country. If they had the opportunity to work at KIMS, they would say, Hamari to lottery khul gayi. In other words, we are always forgetting the blessings that we have, and we are focusing on what we don't have. That is what is making us unhappy again and again. You see, nowadays, the mind-body connection is being researched. In the 1950s, if somebody said that sickness has a mental component, the medical community would have laughed at the person, that what hocus pocus are you talking about? But since the 1980s, the mind-body school was established in the Harvard Medical School, and many books were written. And now people realize there is a very strong mind-body connection. In other words, the mind can make us sick, and the mind can also make us healthy. The simple Pavlov's experiment started it off. You have heard of Pavlov's experiments in psychology, right? Pavlov wanted to see the salivation of dogs. The dogs would be brought and his workers would offer food to the dogs. and then they would measure the saliva that the dog generated. However, to call the dog, a bell used to be rung. And then Mr. Pavlov discovered that even without the food coming there, merely the ringing of the bell caused the dog to salivate. In other words, the thoughts in the dog's mind had caused the body to behave in a particular manner. Now, doctors all realize, everybody realizes by your mere thoughts, you cause the BP to rise. By the mere thoughts, you can cause the BP to fall. So there is such an obvious mind-body connection. If a patient visits the hospital, a doctor says, let me take your blood pressure. And he says, you've got a borderline BP. It is 130 by 90. Really, doctor? But I thought I was totally normal. How did this happen? The doctor says, don't worry, it may be white-collar hypertension. What is white-collar hypertension? When the patient who is normal comes to the hospital, the mind of the patient says, I'm going to the hospital, I must be sick. There must be something wrong with my body, that's why I'm going to meet. And there I find all these white-collar people, all these stern-looking, serious-looking medical staff. There must be something bad wrong with me. And the mind causes the BP to go up. That is the white-collar hypertension. And the reverse of that is the placebo effect. What is the placebo effect? The patient comes and the doctor says, okay, I'm prescribing the medicine. Now the patient is a hypochondriac. He comes back after, Doctor Saab, your medicine is not working. So the doctor knows that it's a 7-day dose. It will take time. So the doctor writes on the prescription PL here. The doctor's assistant, the doctor has prescribed the placebo. Let me give him this. But the placebos work. And why do they work? Because the patient's mind says, I am receiving this medicine. I must be getting cured. In other words, the mind affects the body. So what then is stress? Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm speaking in front of technical experts in this field. The animals, when they are subject to threat to their life, when the mind perceives a threat to life, the body gets into action. And the heart starts pumping more blood. The blood is diverted away from the skin towards the muscles. The body breaks into a sweat to cool the muscles and the organs. And the mind is riveted at the object of the threat. All this enables the animals or the creatures to respond to the threat in two ways. Fight! It increases the chances of survival. And if the threat is bigger than me, then flight, then run. So this is how God has made the creatures. Fight or flight. Moment there's a threat to survival, the body will respond like this. Now we humans too respond in the same manner. When we perceive a threat, the body goes into the stress mode. So the hypothalamus indicates to the liver to produce more glucose. The blood pressure increases due to the adrenaline, due to the cortisol. The heart is pounding, the BP has increased, and sweat breaks out. The immunity system, the focus moves away from it. The digestive system, the focus moves away from it and it moves all towards countering the threat. Just like the animals, our body is the same and the mind becomes riveted on the object of the threat. Now, in a civilized society, the threat to humans is not one of life. It is a social threat. It is an emotional threat. It is a political threat, a financial threat, which needs to be tackled with a calm and cool mind. And when the heart is pounding and the sweat is going and the mind is riveted, it only makes us dysfunctional. But unfortunately, the body does not listen to it. And when the stress remains, supposing you're in the marketing field and you've been given a target for the month. So the last 10 days you are in stress, the target is not being met. So the stress is now not just for a few minutes, but for days to an end. The result, the BP builds up. The glucose level in the blood leads to diabetes. The connection between diabetes and stress is well known. That affects the heart as well. And people know that when we are stressed out, the immunity reduces. And that's why we become more susceptible to diseases, to infections, viruses, colds and flus. So stress has become a ubiquitous problem in today's world. It is called the executive's disease because executives have a greater stressful situation around them. Well, stress can be very easily controlled. How do you control stress? So I said, Mr. Google, what is the cause of stress? If you ask the famous medical website WebMD, it will give you a whole lot of stupid reasons. And when people don't know what the cause of stress is, obviously the solutions for stress are also half-baked. Somebody says you do yoga and you will become stress-free. Somebody says you do Tai Chi or you do Vipassana. Of course, anything that diverts the mind will reduce your stress because it's a mental thing. But that is not the proper analysis. The proper analysis will be found. It was given 5,000 years ago in the Bhagavad Gita. What is the proper analysis? Lord Krishna says, he gives the signs of work. You are all working. You are getting stressed when your intention is not divine. We need to understand this because this is deep philosophy. You see, we all do work. What is the intention behind your work? 3 laborers are working in the construction of a building. Ask one, what are you doing? He says, can't you see I'm making this building? Ask the other one, what are you doing? He says, I'm earning a living. Ask the third one, what are you doing? He says, don't you recognize this is a temple of God? I'm helping, doing seva in it. Physically, they were all doing the same thing. But internally, there was such a difference in intention. So similarly, you are working for KIMS. What is your intention? Are you earning a living? Or are you doing your duty here? Or are you trying to please your boss? Or are you working to get promoted to the next level and get a raise? Or do you have a divine intention? This will make all the difference. What will happen? Supposing you could develop a divine intention, which means you do your work as an offering to God. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tad kurushva madarpanam. Arjun, whatever you do, do it for the pleasure of the Supreme. Whether it is in the office or at home with your family or society, do every act, consecrate it at the altar of the Supreme. What will happen then? The result will be you will do your best because it is for Him. But the results are also for Him. In other words, you are no longer attached to the results. The moment that happens, you will become stress-free. Why does stress happen? Because of our attachment to results. Stress does not happen because we work hard. Why? Working hard will never stress you out. Working hard will be satisfying. What stresses us out is, this is for my sake. This is for my enjoyment. Will it happen the way I want it or not? If it doesn't happen, then how bad it will be. In other words, I am the enjoyer of the world. This whole world is for my sake. And when you change this to divine consciousness, I am the servant of the Lord. And everything I'm doing is for His sake. Like this hand is the servant of the body. The hand serves the body. It takes the water, puts it on the mouth, takes the soap, applies it. By serving the body, the hand's needs are automatically met. Whatever nutrients, oxygen, blood it needs, it receives. But when the hand says, why should I keep serving this body? 50 years have gone by, enough is enough. Chop me off. I'll live by myself. The hand cannot even sustain its existence. In the same way, what is material consciousness and what is divine consciousness? Material consciousness is that this whole world is for my sake. If it's not according to my liking, there's something wrong. And when you are working in that consciousness, you get stressed because you are attached to results. And what is divine consciousness? Do your best and leave to God all the rest. This philosophy was spoken 5,000 years in the Bhagavad Gita. Karmannevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So the moment your work is offered to the divine, at that point then your stress disappears. And this is the principle of karma yoga. Somebody was asking me before the program, there are varieties of yogas given in the Vedic scriptures. What is the difference between them? All these yogas are linking us to the one Supreme. You may call Him God, you may call Him Allah, Khuda, Ikomkar, Alakh Niranjan, Shunya, based on your religious tradition. Yoga is the science of linking with that one. However, the fact is, most of us spend 12 hours a day in our work situation. So any yoga that ignores our work is absolutely incomplete. And that is why Lord Krishna gave the science of work, utilize your work to unite with the Supreme. And that is Karma Yoga. So he says, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yudhya Cha. Arjun, do your work, but at all times let the mind be attached, not to the fruit of your work, but to me. And that will ensure our work is beautifully done in a stress-free environment. Plus, it will help us purify ourselves, elevate ourselves, and reach the supreme destination. To make ultimately our human life a success, which is the ultimate goal of all of us. Thank you all very much. If anybody wishes to ask, you can lift your hand. Don't be scared of my beard, all right? You can ask anything you like.
So how do you define success in life for the youngsters?
Yes, that is the biggest problem of life. Whatever you define as success, that is the direction which your life takes. If your definition of success is wrong, then the life is going in the wrong direction. And that is causing so much of unhappiness. So what is the problem? People are defining success externally. I will be successful if my house has got 4 bedrooms and my car is this long and my salary has got so many zeros. So this external definition of success makes people run on the outside and they ignore the inside. Am I improving from within or not? Am I enriching myself from inside or not? Now, inward wealth is ignored and the external wealth is increased. And then at the age of 50, they realize that it did not bring me happiness. So, Dr. Sita has requested that what is your definition of success? I like to put it like this. 3 things. The first is to be good. Try to be the best person that you can be. First point. Second is to do good. We all want our work to make a meaningful difference. To try and do good. When you realize your work is creating a difference to the world, that is satisfying. And the third, as a consequence of this, to feel good, to be happy. If you have these 3, if you're increasing in these 3, your life is in the direction of true success.
Swamiji,
Yes.
what are all the stories that you said is 100% perfect? Every day in, day out, I am facing the same thing like comparison, greediness. All these examples gives comparison, greediness, and stress, and then need to make it success themselves. How to imbibe all these cultures within the human beings? How they should be able to? You are saying very clearly, these are all the problems. We do agree. All of us also agree. These are all the problems, but they may not be able to practice. They listen this 1 hour, they realize these are all the problems. Next minute, they get out of this door, they forget and they go into their same world.
Yes. We are so busy running that we don't have time to think, where am I running? Isn't it? That's how modern life is. There's so much of traffic, so many issues, so many problems. My neighbor went for a vacation to Uta Command. Now, unless I also go there, how can I be happy? So you have to do as much as the neighbor does. We are all running. I once asked, there was a rider on a horse, rushing. I said, where are you going so fast? He said, I don't know, ask my horse. So that's what we are also doing in our life. So the first thing then is to stop a little bit. In other words, from your busy schedule, take out a little half hour, 1 hour every day for yourself. You're spending time for your family, for KIMS, for everything. Take out some time for yourself. In that 1 hour, you do start off this journey with 3 things. The first is Shravan. Listen to good knowledge. Nowadays, it is so easy. Technology has its minuses, but also pluses. Now everything is available on YouTube. Listen to good knowledge. And then, number 2, what you have listened to. First of all, you keep listening, not just once. Okay, I've heard Swamiji's lecture for 1 hour. That's not it. Keep listening. This is called Shravanam. And the second, what you have heard, contemplate over it. Think about it. When you think about it, the knowledge sinks deep. And when it sinks deep, it starts changing your perspective, the way you do things. This is called Mananam. And the third is Nididhyasan. The moment you make a decision in accordance with the knowledge, the moment you truly believe that the inner success is the most important thing, your life changes. Our beliefs are so important. If we can establish the good beliefs through Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, we will find we are able to implement this knowledge. Yes.
Swami, they say that some element of stress is important in life. Otherwise, we all will be gurus like you and no doctors are here. So there is a difference. There is a difference between stress and distress. How do you explain that?
You know, I had never thought of that. Your question has got some truth in it. From a purely spiritual point of view, you really don't need any stress. The moment there is a stress, it indicates an impurity inside. That is the divine perspective. Just like somebody comes to you with malaria. Now, the fever is a symptom. The fever is not the disease, the malaria. The fever is a symptom, there's something wrong. In the same way, from a divine perspective, stress means your mind is impure, you are attached to the results. All right? So, you need to go further. But until you have reached that absolute level, if you say, okay, I will be totally de-stressed, and then you may end up doing nothing at all. So, rather than being falsely in Sattva Gun, which becomes Tamogun, it's better to have a little bit of Rajogun and say, okay, I'll be stressed, but I'll work hard. All right? So that is a relative truth for a person. If a person is not up there, then be up here.
Can I ask?
Okay, first him and then you. Yes.
See, I asked you earlier, I think I had an opportunity, that one should be happy, contented, otherwise, and stress-free. And possibly it should, whether it should show on your face or not. I asked you that.
Okay.
Now, you told me that possibly it's not required as long as you are happy. That's the most important thing. Now, when you say you have unified, unify with the divine, or that is the perspective you should achieve, how does your change in your dress or your dadi or this help you in that? Can you give me that? The external appearance.
Okay. You see, he asked me that you are teaching us how to be happy on the inside. So is it necessary to show happiness on the outside? So I told him that no, there is no need to show any happiness. You don't have to show to the world. And now he's challenging me. And why are you putting all these external things? Why are you having a dadi? Is it going to please God? Truly, God doesn't care for what we wear. God is one personality who's sitting inside us. You don't need to do anything externally to please Him. He knows the inside, right? And you don't even have to send Him a memo, because He creates the memos Himself and files them also Himself, our karmas of endless lifetimes. So for God, it really doesn't matter what clothes you wear. Saint Kabir said, Prem bhav ik chahiye, bhes anek banaya, chahe ghar mein vas kar, chahe van mein jaye. However, the duty that I am performing in society of delivering this knowledge, that duty is more better discharged as in this dress. Because this dress has a cultural significance in the hearts of people based on a culture of thousands of years. This dress indicates to people this person is a renunciant. This person is speaking from a level of authority. Just like a policeman is a policeman even without a dress, he still chooses to wear his dress to discharge his function. So, for the sake of my duty, and that is why I told you that as a doctor, if you need to smile to make the patient happy, definitely go ahead and do it. All right? We'll pass the mic to him.
Thank you, Swamiji, for your wonderful correlations of minds, thoughts, and the stories you have told us. Actually, you are the only one in this entire hall who has not seen any unhappy moments in last 5 years. So there must be something in your life. I just wanted to know if it is not a wrong question, but we wanted to know that what is the life event that transformed your thought process from just being happy in even unhappy moments. What was your phase of life which transformed this process?
Okay. He's saying, why is it that you choose to be happy? All right? He's forcing me also to think. I decided that what is important is solutions and not problems. I decided that I want to use my time and my energy effectively in the service of God, who has bestowed me with this opportunity, who has bestowed me with all this knowledge. So if there's something wrong, there is no point brooding about it. What is the solution? Focus on the solution. The moment you become solution-oriented, automatically worries finish. The world may be coming to an end. It's not because I'm running a worldwide organization, so it's not that problems don't arise. The problems arise every day. But every time when a problem comes, I think, okay, now how to solve this? If it gets solved, well and good. If it doesn't get solved, nevertheless, I tried my best. I'll leave the rest in the hands of God. So if positive thinking means to become solution oriented, I guess it was my desire to serve God that made me a positive thinker, that made me solution oriented. Until now, I find that I don't want to waste any time brooding over problems.
Yeah, can I ask something? I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a neurosurgeon, and the problems what I see with me and other patients is we do not know what is unhappiness and what is happy. Once in a group of 10 students, I asked, tell me what you like best. They took 10 minutes to answer what they like best. I asked somebody what you don't like. They also took 10 minutes to answer what they don't like. So basically, we do not know what we want, what we do not want, and what we expect from gurus like you is that how to channelize the process. Are we unnecessarily promoting stress, and putting in our mind that stress is a big thing? Rather, the title, it should not be overcoming stress. It should be how to become happier. We are happy, how to become happier. We don't have stress. It's not that we have to de-stress, but you have to be happy and you can become happier.
See, if a patient comes to you with a knee problem, there's a knee ache, and you say, come on, there is no point talking about knee aches. You are absolutely all right. Will that solve the patient's problem? It will not, because the problem is there. So positive thinking is definitely beneficial, but it does not mean we should ignore the problem. All right? The fact is, there are two motivators. One is the desire to remove unhappiness, and the second is the desire to get happiness. There are people who are motivated by the urge for happiness. There are people who are motivated by the desire to remove unhappiness. It is the reality of the situation that there are about 30% of the people who are thinking, how can I get rid of stress? So it is important to address the issue and to elevate their level. And merely pushing it under the rug will not solve the problem. That is my opinion. You are welcome to other opinions. It is only an opinion. Now, you are very right in saying that people are not clear about what they want. Very often, the problem is they have not thought enough about it. So you, by your asking, you made them think. So a guru like myself, our duty is to make people think. That they may not reach the conclusions that I have presented, which is fair enough. But if I have got them to start thinking, I think that is also helpful to them.
Swamiji, first of all, unless anybody knows what is happiness, they cannot get it. What we cherish most is not necessary what we pursue most. The people are expecting happiness, but they do not working according to the happiness. Happiness, it means it related to the mind. Happiness, happy, to be happy, if we appreciate somebody, they will be happy. Irrespective of their status, either collector or mistakes, if they do something wrong, if we oppose them or if we talk against them, they will not feel happy. It related to the mind. Because unless we feel we are doing good, we are correctly, we want happiness, we never do. Because irrespective of the expectations, whether we are rich or not, if we want to be happy, we can be happy without expectation. Thank you.
See, that is very right. We are all looking for happiness. That's agreed. Nobody wants to be unhappy. We are all looking for happiness. However, there are different kinds of happiness. The 5-year-old child is looking for immediate happiness. Mommy, give me the ice cream or I'll be unhappy. Right? The drunkard is looking for happiness in the bottle. So the Vedas say there is tamasic happiness, the mode of ignorance. There is a rajasic happiness, the mode of passion. There's sattvic happiness. Somebody is getting happiness out of serving others. And then there is divine happiness. So why do you want happiness? The ocean of happiness is God Himself. Anando Brahmeti Vyajanat. You are a part of that ocean, hence the need for happiness in you. All right, so there are all varieties of happiness that are available. You have to choose what is the happiness that you want. One will give you happiness today and tomorrow it will be gone. There is Priya Sukh and then there is Shreya Sukh. Right now it gives you misery, but in the long run it will give you happiness. And there is one eternal happiness. So based on your knowledge, you will choose the kind of happiness that you target.
Swamiji, I
Yes.
just wanted to know that sometimes there are some life-shaking events, unexpected events in the life of human beings. You know, for instance, somebody becomes a widow suddenly, like in war, or somebody loses his son. Is it still possible to be happy with that kind of situation happening suddenly in somebody's life?
Absolutely. Life-shaking events are always happening. The people who succeeded in life, they also had such reversals. But despite the reversals, they chose to see positivity in it. The example is given of Viktor Frankl. Have you heard the name of Viktor Frankl? He was a Jew in Austria in the 1930s. And when Hitler started oppressing the Jews and rounding them up and putting them in concentration camps, along with his family members, he was thrown in Auschwitz, which was the most severe concentration camp. There, he was separated from his wife and daughters, and later on came to know they had died. 5 million people were killed. And he describes the situation there, that they would live without clothes. They would be made to walk through the night, not knowing if they would be alive the next day or not. So that's the worst situation, right? But in all that, he realized that there is one freedom he has which nobody can take away from him: the choice to be happy. So he said, I will be happy. And he would be found smiling and even laughing. The guards would be astonished. How can you laugh? He became an inspiration to everybody. So he decided, I will live through it all and reveal my discovery to the world. Finally, when Germany lost and he was released, he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning in Life, which was translated into 15 languages of the world. And he traveled and gave lectures in 300 universities and received 29 honorary doctorates. So in that, he said that life often serves you with misery. But one choice that you always have is how you respond to it. All right? And no matter what, you can always choose to be happy. And how do you choose to be happy? You see what the good is. If you change your definition of success, make it your definition, I want to grow from inside. And then you will see this difficult situation is helping you become a better person from within. It's helping you improve your own mental abilities. As the saying goes in English, I prayed to God for wisdom. He gave me problems to solve and become wise. I prayed to Him for strength. He gave me obstacles to surmount that I may become strong. I prayed to Him for courage. He gave me dangers to overcome and become courageous. My prayers were answered not in the way I wanted, but in the way that was best for me. Yes.
Swamiji, as a response to stress, we know there is a flight or fight response, and I know we have many in between, a mix of all. How exactly we decide it's time for a fight? In other words, when is the time for a surgical strike?
I try to stay away from politics on a public forum, but surgical strike as a human being. You know, the human brain has two aspects to it. One is the conscious mind, and one is your subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind, you're not really aware of it, but it's there, and it works below the conscious level. So when there is a stress to life, the conscious mind only informs the subconscious that, look, I'm on the zebra crossing, but this car is not stopping on the red light, it is headed to me, and my life is in danger. So the moment the conscious mind informs the subconscious there's a danger to your life, the subconscious takes over. And before you realize it, you have jumped back and the car has gone by. So you jumped back in a split second. That subconscious works 1,000 times faster than the conscious mind. It doesn't analyze. It immediately takes action. So all you need to do is, with your conscious mind, realize there's danger to my life. And it moves into action. But to understand your question differently, whether I should act on the offensive when there's a danger, or whether I should act on the defensive and say, okay, chalo, let me be calm and peaceful. That requires wisdom. It requires understanding the situation and seeing what will work to the benefit. You don't go on the offensive just out of anger. That is an immature response. You think, I need to solve this problem. If offense will solve the problem, you go on the offensive. If it will only increase the problem, then it is better to withdraw.
Yeah, pranams to Swamiji. Just to add whatever that Dr. Gentleman has asked, one thing I just thought has come like, when you do an operation and maybe due to some reasons, if the patient passes away, so then you say you did your level best, and so it's God's will that He has taken out. But the other thing, like when our dears, when we say, it's purely because of the attachment that you have. So
They
that
feel the
is making
pain.
you more panic.
Very
So
correct.
in the first case, you don't have any attachment. That's the reason you don't feel that particular one. The second one,
Absolutely.
you are attached. So maybe if that attachment is removed, so obviously you'll be happy. And one question, like on the happiness part, we have this, in the border, the cross-firing happens, and maybe the soldiers, to protect their country, they do firing, and the opponent will die. Okay, so now the situation is this side, they feel happy because they killed a person of the opponent to save the country, and other side, they feel sorry for losing a person in saving the country. So here, what is the happiness? Or situation is same, but two people are taking it different.
That's right. So your first example about the doctor doing his duty, and then whether the results are positive or negative, the doctor is not disturbed. And in second case, when the doctor is attached, the panic happens. That's very correct. That's why surgeons never want to operate on their own family members, because they realize the attachment will affect their performance. Now, coming to the second example you gave, I'm reminded of a joke. One lady said during the war that these bomber planes from the enemy side, they came over our skies. So we prayed and prayed and prayed, and all the bombs fell on the other side of the town. So I'm so happy. Right? So what is the kind of happiness that we want makes all the difference to the quality of our life and to the level of our existence. So in the war situation, if they are happy because they have killed the enemy, so that is not a transcendental level. The happiness should come from having performed your duty well. That's why the Bhagavad Gita was also spoken in a war situation. But Arjun never once thought he has any enemies. He's only doing his duty. And according to the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, his mind is at the level, is attached to God. Sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmar. I am doing my duty to the best of the ability. And that's all. There's a saying about the Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru. He used to fight the Mughal emperor's army at that time. So he used to do it as a dharma yudh. The saying goes that two of them were locked in a dual combat, and he dropped his opponent and got over him. He was about to kill his opponent when the opponent spat on him. So he dropped the sword and left. Somebody asked him that, why did you suddenly leave? He said, so far I was doing it as a dharma, but when he spat on me, I became angry. And when I have become angry, it will no longer remain a dharma yudh. That's why I've just walked off from the scene. So if we want to keep that highest standard for our actions, then we should do everything just for the pleasure of God and derive happiness from that.
Swamiji, my question is regarding the people who already went into acute stress. So I myself went into acute stress for more than 1 year. So from 5 years, I am taking medication. So now I am facing its consequences. Even now I am facing its consequences, like memory loss and sleep disturbances, all these problems. So what advice do you give to the patients who already went into acute stress or depression to resume their life in a positive way, to lead their life in a positive way? What advice do you give, Swamiji?
All right. We have to be practical. From the spiritual perspective, I tell you, you become detached and do it for God. It will not be practical because you don't have that level of mind control, right? So my advice to somebody like yourself would be, you try and implement the spiritual tools as much as possible, but don't give up the medication. Utilize the medication as well and enhance your spiritual practice. As you become better at it, you start reducing the medication. And this way, your goal should be that one day you develop such control over your mind that you don't need any medication. But for right now, you do both.